Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with Naya Depths. Back today with Naya Maverick. This is a list that I've been trying out and it's been performing really well. I've been targeting specifically Mono White, Initiative, and Delver online, and then a lot of fast combo, mostly graveyard decks. So having the Deafening Silences and the Fairy Macabres is quite strong. The Fairy Macabres I've chosen over Leyline because of the Once Upon a Times as just another way to dig for the ability to find Fairy Macabre. It's also a little less dead than Leyline on the draw because you can cast it. I guess, maybe not, because you can cast Noble as well. Hey Yashin, welcome. I know that Nick has been talking about playing Shahrazar online. And streaming that, being the old Magic game, if we can find a copy. So that would be pretty cool. Obviously, a try co-stream would be pretty sweet, but too kind. 53 months is insane. I very much appreciate that. But yeah, the list has been pretty strong. Some are kind of the outliers that you see here. I think the 3-3 split of Knight and Endurance is mainly a consideration because we have the four Planeswalkers at 4 mana. Minsk has been great, and the Wandering Emperor has actually been really impressive. I've really liked this card as a way to just keep pressure going, and obviously it's just a really nice threat and removal spell for a lot of decks that might not think about it. We have, of course, Once Upon a Times as just a nice way to make sure we're always ramping on turn 1. I've also gone with only Exalted creatures here, no Birds of Paradise, because I do want all my creatures to be able to steal the initiative, and Birds does, of course, take another Exalted creature to actually be able to attack. And I think that the creature being able to attack by itself is more important than the invasion of flying that Birds brings to the deck. So that's kind of the consideration there. Lightning Bolt has been pretty nice as well. It's just obviously a removal spell that deals with White Plume Adventurer and DRC when it's turned online. So this version isn't playing Punishing Fire. And I've been happy with that. Especially at 1 mana, Lightning Bolt has been really nice. Also just being able to have that reach as well is great. Because some decks don't really take it into consideration. Solitude is just another card I'm trying out here. I think it's quite good because we do accelerate quite early on, so being able just to hard cast it on, say, turn 3 or 4 is definitely not out of our wheelhouse. And it's obviously just a really nice removal spell early on. So if we do something like turn 1 Noble, our opponent goes turn 1 White Plume, being able to Solitude it and then get in with Noble is really nice. It also gives us the ability to build out on the board while also controlling the board, which I think is very key. It's something you've seen recently with Elves, with Snuff Out, and in the same sort of space as where we want to be applying pressure to the board either through mana acceleration or actual threats. But at the same time, there's a lot of decks right now where you care about the creatures on the opposite side of the board from you. So being able to build out your board and not have to take a turn off from doing so by removing opposing creatures is really nice. So having Solitude in the deck kind of allows us to do that. Also, we can find it off Once Upon a Time, which is sweet. Minsk has been exceptional. Fleetwood Dancer has been quite nice. I play both Fleetwood and Questing Beast, which is potentially a little bit greedy, but at the moment, I'm not too scared of Wasteland, which is really nice. I'm finding a lot of decks that are just allowing you to kind of have your mana and try to attack what you actually put on the board with your mana rather than going after your mana. Especially Blue-Red Delver. I've seen them to be a little less on the Wasteland plan. But Fleetwood, not being able to get Caracas is pretty huge. Also, the lifelink is relevant in the sort of key matchups where you are obviously on a sort of combat versus combat axis. And, you know, gaining 4 life against Delver is, you know, more than just recovering from 1 hit from DRC or Delver. So that's pretty sweet. I think this deck would be pretty different with Morlock online. I really like that card, especially as a Green Sun's target that just gives you removal is really strong. And I think I would probably move around with potentially the number of bolts or solitudes in this list if I was playing Morlock in this. To the board, we have 2 Furies. That's probably the card that will bring the most questions. Again, really nice removal. It's a great way to deal with go wide strategies, which this deck without punishing fire doesn't have as good of a time against. But Fury, just a really nice card. Also with the Ignobled Hierarchs, we can cast it hopefully turn 3 or turn 4 for some extra value. So Fury, I think, is really nice here. Also being able to deal 4, relevant again, just like Bolt. It can kill White Plume, it can kill a DRC online, and things like that. Elo, welcome. A huge thank you. A huge thank you. 13 months is pretty awesome. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, I think for this matchup, or at least for this league, and for online right now, I kind of have Deafening Silence and Fairy Macabre, and to some extent the Blasts as my combo hate. Force of Vigor, you could probably also put in there. Just really looking for either free or turn 1 interaction. And then, yeah, I guess when you look at this board, pretty much everything is either something that can be cast for free, like Force of Vigor or Fury, or is literally 1 mana. So it impacts the board straight away, or it gives us interaction as early as turn 1. Because with a lot of the combo decks wanting to go under initiative, you kind of have to adapt to that with Maverick by playing a lot of early creatures. You know, we're not playing Thalias, we're not playing Spirit of Labyrinth, we're not playing Gaddock Teeg, because in my opinion, they're a little bit too slow right now for those sort of matchups. And I really just want to focus on the other creature-based decks like Delver and Initiative. And I think be able to fit in like the 4 bolts, the solitudes, the extra planeswalkers for a bit of grind is really nice. And then if we do want to have some sort of interaction in the main deck for combo, it's probably going to be Collector Oof, which can of course be protected by Safekeeper, which is pretty nice. The one Safekeeper in the deck is mainly just a Green Sun's target. For decks like 8cast, where they have a lot of bounce effects, especially Otawara, which Mother of Runes can't protect against, but if I do want to have something, Safekeeper is really nice. Obviously against something like Tess or Ant as well, having the Safekeeper to make sure we're not just naked against removal with the Oof is really sweet. So, pretty keen to see how this goes. Legacy League, Green-White, play points, we are playing gameplay, there we go. But welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. I've moved recently, so got a new setup, had to set it all up again. And I'm back to my 3 screens, which I actually quite like. I kept the big screen for my workspace. And I think for co-streaming, that'll be pretty sweet as well. All right, Rick, Rin, we are on the draw. And not too sure what they were on. Really want to just like start slowing down a little bit with my plays, because I say it once, I've said it many times before, I make a play, I then talk about it to chat, and then I realize it was a better play. This hand is tough. The once finding potentially a mana accelerant is probably the best thing you can find, but otherwise it's pretty slow. The Ramanap and the Collector Oof are kind of silver bullets that might not be effective, so this is kind of a 5. And I do think a 6 in the blind would be probably better than this, especially with cards like Green Suns and Mana Accelerants. So pretty happy to mulligan this. A little bit tough. The Dried Arbor would probably be the easy drop here, but we have mana to cast everything that we probably once into. We have Wasteland for some interaction. I'm not a big fan of going to 5. We're not running Sylvan Library or any real ways to gain some early card advantage, so pretty happy to keep this and bottom the Arbor. Hey Monkey. Comet is a tough one because it is very random. And I think probably the question that I would ask myself is Comet number 1 better than Minsk number 3 or number 4? And for me, the answer is no. I'm just not a big fan of the card, but I do hope some people actually try it out in Mav. and see how it performs. They chose to shuffle after the Watery Grave here, so I'm pretty happy just to Wasteland. This also makes the Once Upon a Time a little bit better, because if we draw into a Mana Dork next turn, then we can start looking for a threat with Once, and kind of makes a Mana Acceleration piece a little bit less appealing. But yeah, Comet is shenanigans, I will say. I'm also not really looking to cast anything here. Like this Once could potentially be cast on turn 3 or 4 for us. There is a small take of if we Once there and find a Mana Accelerant, then potentially the turn after. We can draw into a 3-drop and play that straight away. I also don't want to throw this Safekeeper just into play. I'd much rather probably keep it around for the mid game, where I actually have lands to throw away if I do want to keep something in play. Potentially a Knight of the Reliquary and protect it from Snuff Out. They're going to grief us. I think in response to the grief, I'm happy to Once. I can only assume here that they're going to reanimate it. We're a little bit far off Beast, so I actually don't mind just the extra land here. But this is a kind of a new take on Death Shadow that we've been seeing, where they've moved away from Street Wraith and moved towards a 4 grief, 4 reanimate build, which is pretty cool. Also, being 3 power and have Menace is quite good against Initiative. And of course, if you grief, discard a card, or exile a card, then you also get rid of one. Or they might be on like some sort of weird white splash. No. Or potentially Stifle. No, it's probably just reanimate here. Yeah. Take a bolt. So I could play out the Savannah, which might just get hit by a Wasteland. I don't mind playing the Canopy because at least they Wasteland us, we can just cycle it. The life loss could be relevant over a few turns where we tap the Canopy, but I think we're okay here. I'm also not in a position where I really need to start cycling this Canopy to find a red source. So happy just to take this and see if we can draw off the top pretty live. Okay. One thing this does do is turn on Snuff Out, which could potentially be the spell they need to cast to get a Death Shadow into play. But if they're using a Snuff Out on a Noble here, I'm not too unhappy. So they chose to shuffle with the Ponder. I would assume they're looking for a second threat just to speed things up a bit, especially if they can delta into a Watery Grave. Okay. I guess if they force the bolt, then they can lose a life, but see if we can find a red source first. Okay. Okay. That's pretty sweet. Because here... How do I want to do this? They know about the bolt, so there could be a situation where they have force of will, and they believe they can save the bolt by forcing, of course, and making this a 4/4. So if they have a force, I don't want to lead on the swords. Because why would they play out just a 3/3 Death Shadow? I guess they could also have Street Wraith, but... Hey Panda, welcome. Tough one. I'm going to go with my gut and just say that they probably have Street Wraith. And if we Swords the Grief here, then they gain the life. It is Force. Go with the gut, man. Tough. I guess I get kind of a free attack in here. Damn, I should have gone with the read. Yeah. There's really no downside there to just bolting the Death Shadow. I think that's definitely the play. And then if they have the force, then we have the swords anyway to kind of take out both creatures. Okay. What's their last card? Okay. Not really the way that I want to get that creature off the table, but can't be too unhappy there. Another Shadow's pretty good. Land, which can be a Watery Grave potentially if they have another one in play in the deck. Oof. Can't cast it because we don't have the Noble Hierarch, which is pretty big. A fetch land is live because we can draw into Dried Arbor. There's definitely a few things here that work out pretty well. Ugh, another one's very good. I guess Dried Arbor still does it. Oh, so close. Tough. And it really came down to that line as well. Here I like the carpets and I like the blast effects. What don't I like? First things first is really just some of the sort of targets for Green Suns. Liberator, Oof, and Safekeeper can definitely come out. The Beast is interesting. The Fleetwood's interesting, but with Gomag, Death Shadow, and Murktide, there's probably not a great spot where this can actually get in. The bolts are nice on Grief, but otherwise aren't the strongest. Could see a Mana Accelerant coming out because we do have the carpets. Bolts do still go face. What do we have here? We kind of have a one-lander with Taiga. Not a big fan, especially against a deck that plays things like obviously Wasteland, Fatal Push, Snuff Out. Pretty happy to mulligan this. This is a little bit better. The carpets make it a little bit awkward, but pretty happy to keep this. And probably bottom the cradle here. A little bit awkward as well with the wasteland, but that's fine. I'm also just going to lead on Taiga into carpet, I think. This is also a situation where they like force this and wasteland us back. Happy to be pretty aggressive as well with hitting their cantrips early on. Or even like a Brazen Borrower. There is some play to holding the carpet, allowing them to play some lands and then playing the carpet. I feel it's like playing a carpet out early on can sometimes be like a leyline effect where your opponent just doesn't really play into it. Brainstorm here I'm pretty happy to hit. Having one for Murktide and a bolt for another removal spell is pretty strong. Okay. That's pretty cool. I might just actually play the Endurance here. Then I will hit them because of Murktide and Gurmag. Opponent probably thinking about Snuff Out here. No. Not shocking there either. Four mana. Hardcast Grief? Here I'm actually happy just to allow them to see what they want to take, because we can make 4 white to hardcast the Solitude next turn. Yeah, I don't think it's a good attack there. Pretty happy to take out the Strix here. That's pretty nice. Let's make white play this. Treacherous Savannah. Play knight. Still no snuff out. That's pretty good for us. Strix is annoying enough for me to blast here. Also stopping them from drawing the card is quite nice. They're going to force it. Pitching a Brazen Borrower. That's pretty big. Okay. I guess this is where Fury would actually be quite nice. Let's snuff out. I believe we still have Questing Beast. Nice. I think Beast here is probably just the best card. Allows us to get through damage still. Another force. Okay. I think he would just want to make green. Cast once. Oh. I think we just don't have an out to this, unfortunately. Tough. Yeah, I think a lot of that came back to the play in game one, where we could have bolted the Death Shadow. They then force the bolt to make the Death Shadow a 4/4, and then we can just swords the Grief, which takes care of both creatures. But that is life. Yeah, it's really cool to see Death Shadow do well online, especially in a meta where there were a lot of players who were saying it wasn't as good as it as some players were playing it out to be, but the new builds with Grief are really strong, and obviously the card advantage of Baleful Strix as well is really, really nice. It's against a meta game with things like White Plumes and DRCs and Delvers and Murktides. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward in the early game where we had the carpet out, but obviously this wasn't really doing too much. Opponent could just control their mana until they wanted to use their mana and allow us to use it in a way. +30 people? Very cool. Locally we get probably between 15 to 20, which is I think pretty good. Especially on a regular basis, it's nice to kind of rock up and know that players will be there. Alright, G-Shadow. Look, I don't mind this. A lot of interaction, mana's all good. So pretty happy to keep this. Interesting, taking the mana accelerant. Happy just to hold up swords here potentially. Interesting. I think here we just want to get Dried Arbor and start jamming as soon as possible. Collector Oof is definitely the best card to get into, so hopefully we can get that potentially next turn. But maybe just one turn too early. PMIS, that's very correct. Yeah, nice catch. Opponent obviously having a pretty good think about this turn, so potentially they can go up here. We have two kind of lines. We could potentially bolt them if they go for an Adnors. Swords, unfortunately, doesn't really do a whole lot here. Because it would just put us to 20, which Tendrils is going to hit 19 or 20 anyway. Interesting. Still just going to go for Green Suns here for Oof. I don't want to give them the Wish Claw just in case they do have a removal spell for Collector Oof in the main deck. Like if they have some sort of way to get a bounce spell for the Oof and then have the Talisman to activate. I'd rather hold the Talisman here. And we do have Wandering Emperor as a backup threat next turn, which is pretty nice. There are also quite a lot of ways for them just to get through the Collector Oof. Use artifacts just for Storm instead of mana. I wonder if this is Massacre. Because we have the Plateau in play. That would be pretty brutal. Grape Shot. Okay. Interesting. Oh, Wastewind's pretty nice. Hitting the Volk. And then I do have Safekeeper, which I can get off the Wish Claw if I really want to. I think it is Burning Wish Ant, correct, yeah. The question is, do I want to hold up mana for the Bolt? Hey, Punishing Waterfalls. Not too bad, went down to Death Shadow and now in game 1 against what looks to be Ant. So they have 5 cards, we know one is Grape Shot. I think here I'm happy just to hit the Volk. Use the Wish Claw. Oh, I can't use the Wish Claw, of course. Still fine. Still fine. Kind of why you put the Collector Oof into play, right? I wonder if they have another red source. Volk, like maybe a Badlands, but they can't get that off Misty. Okay. Attack with Oof, and then we have Emperor hold up. The plows do look sad. The only real advantage to plow here is potentially if our opponent tries to kill us for exactly 20, we can double swords our own creatures. And at least the Wandering Emperor also allows us to make this Collector Oof pretty big and get it out of sort of grape shot range to some extent. But I think here I just want to put this out of range as much as possible. And 4 this turn, I guess 5 this turn. Oh, that's Questing Beast. That is game. Nice. Yeah, Thalia and you know, Spirit can definitely do that at times, which is pretty sweet. Questing, tick up. Nice. And thankfully in this matchup we have a lot of just good early cards. The swords, probably the bolts, let's be honest. I do like the Deafening Silence. I do like the Force of Vigors. I do like the blasts. The Macabres are interesting. I don't think they're going to be relevant. That's 60. Like, Solitude isn't great. Ramanap's a little bit slow. Questing Beast, Fleetwood, and Minsk at least have some sort of potential. The Emperors aren't dead either because they do put Collector Oof as, say, a 3-3, which can take it out of range of things like Massacre. The Carpets are pretty nice, but I kind of like having the instant speed effects of Noble and of I guess all Nobles. And yeah, Endurance is probably just better there against the Fairies. I think this is really just it. Just really hope for that sort of turn 1 interaction. And the blast effects are really there to protect a Deafening Silence. This hand's just a little bit too heavy on spells, so pretty happy to mulligan that. Again, this hand is just a little bit tough because it is so heavy on 4-drops and 5-drops that I'm pretty happy to go to 5. This is probably a keep. Probably happy to put back the Wandering Emperor. And how do we want to do this? If I put back the Noble Hierarch, we can go for Taiga into Ignobled Hierarch, and then we have Canopy as our white source, which also plays around Massacre if they are playing that. Kind of hoped to have a turn 1 play in something like Deafening Silence, but not too bad here. If we top deck it, it's probably the best play. Blast is interesting, especially with Underground Sea Pass. But I think there's just a lot more for me if I play Ignobled Hierarch here, because it turns on Green Suns off the top. Yeah. It also means next time we can just play Outland Liberator and then just hold back on the Blast, which is quite nice. I feel like the end step Brainstorm just means they're very close to a hand that can go off turn 2 and they're just looking for potentially 1 or 2 things. Or they need to use all their mana this turn, so wanted to use the Brainstorm early on. They chose not to shuffle. Also, just like a Thoughtseize here isn't too bad because we have so many good plays next turn. Okay. Can just play Liberator, hold up the Blast. Just a pass. That's actually really huge because it does, of course, flip this Outland Liberator. It also means they missed a land drop. Let's start off with an attack. And then here I'm just going to play Caracas into Knight, which is also very relevant right now because they missed a land drop and have 2 jewels in play. Wasteland is pretty strong here. So surely they have maybe like an Abrupt Decay or a Bounce? Wow, no. It is holding back. If they try to cantrip here, I'm pretty happy to hit that. I don't currently have anything that I really worry about with bounce effects. And if they didn't play a land last turn and they use 1 mana here to cantrip, then they only have 1 mana left for something like potentially Chain of Vapor. But obviously like Echoing Truth is offline there. Abrupt Decay is going to be a hit. Nothing I can do there. I don't think they really wanted to do that. Like they kind of wanted to hold it for a bigger threat. At this stage, I'm happy to actually draw a card and see if we can draw in 2 Green Suns for 2. Okay, Endurance is pretty strong as well. I don't mind just playing probably Windswept Heath. Maybe Mascatus isn't something that I should be playing around, because already I have like a 3/3 and a 3/4. Do I want to keep the Windswept for a Dryad Arbor? We attack for 4, we put them to 11. Next turn we put in Endurance, we attack for 6, and then 6 again, so it actually doesn't really matter. A little bit of a tough spot as well, because if they play Cantrip, I probably want to blast it, and then I probably wanted to play the Windswept Heath so I could fetch for Dryad Arbor in the end step, but I think all is okay. Yeah, see, this I'm more than happy to blast. I think blasting this is better than getting Endurance into play. They also don't have Veil up here. Buys us 1 more turn to try to draw into a Green Suns. Oh, life gain is actually quite relevant here. Okay. Yeah, I think we just play Fleetwood here and try to go for it. Yeah, it's pretty funny when you especially when you see Frenzied Trapbreaker attack into a Grizzlebrand, and then the trigger takes out like the Animate Dead that is holding the Grizzlebrand intact. That's always pretty funny. Alright, they found a land, but is that enough? Well, they're gonna try to go for it. Okay. All the mana in the world. Currently 6 mana in play. Cabal. Okay. It does turn off the Frenzied. LED. LED. 2 cards left. Tutor, pitch. They have 8 mana. They can find Tutor to 6, find Tutor to... They have to go for Adnors. No. Yeah, because Stormcast is 7. So if they use 8 mana down to 6, get another tutor. They go to Storm Count 8, find another tutor. Storm Count 9, they have 4 left, and then they have Tendrils. They go for Cabal. Oh, there's a Past in Flames in the bin. Damn, and we have the Endurance in hand. I guess the dress down meant the Endurance line was off anyway. Nice. Probably just running this back the same way. I could see a world where just bolts are better than the late game Planeswalkers. At least Minsk is a little bit quicker. That's the only thing that I'll say. I think I'm pretty happy with that. The tough thing here is that Once can't find Deafening Silence, and I think that is just the best card hands down. Ah. Well, our opponent's gone for Jewels the whole time, so I don't actually mind this. As like once into land for Noble Hierarch, next turn Wasteland them. Drop a Once. Drop a Bolt. Do I want the Windswept? I guess I do. Because it gives me red mana off Taiga. Hey Paul, hope you're well. Wow, opponent obviously, like, probably one card away from going off here. It's probably the only reason to brainstorm there. Anything in the new set look interesting? Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I think if anything, it's some of the newer cards coming on to MTGO. Like Morlock and St. Catherine. That card's pretty cool. It's definitely the downside of not playing a Thalia build, is not having that sort of extra hate for matchups like this. But I think the Deafening Silences are usually pretty good. Titania is pretty sweet. I really liked her in a build with Safekeeper, because that is kind of your like I win button, which a lot of decks do have a bit of an issue against. See a tutor. Do they sack the LED here? Enjoying a few decks. Oh, interesting. I really like Bant Initiative at the moment. I've been playing that in paper. Been playing a little bit of Naya Depths as well. And then Morlock, which is nice in paper, so playing a bit of Maverick. Also just finished Ant myself with Paradise, which is pretty strong. That card is pretty insane, especially once you start playing with it. So they got rid of Adnors here. And for some reason there isn't a Storm count, but I believe it was Brainstorm, Cabal Writ, Lotus Petal. Oh, they're just going to get up Burning Wish. Okay, into 3 mana. Galvanic Relay? Is it just Relay here? Yeah, that's a tough one. Maybe they just didn't calculate their mana correctly. Especially with Storm count only being 5, but we'll take it. The card is Moloch. Alright, on the play, which is nice. And the hand's a little weak. Pretty happy to mulligan this as just a lot of mana. This is actually pretty sweet. Pretty happy to keep this and probably just bottom the Sylvan Safekeeper here. Gonna once now because we have the turn 1 play in Hierarch. And happy just to get Windswept Heath here. And then just Savannah into Noble. I guess there's a world where Taiga into Noble is better in case they go dual land creature. We can go Bolt Wasteland attack. This means we can't Wasteland and also Bolt in the same turn. Aether Spellbomb. Okay. Well. Pretty happy just to hold up both Once and Lightning Bolt here. Paradise. I think it's Lost Paradise. Paradise Lost. There we go. That's actually a hard one to get there. There we go. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, especially when you have LEDs and Lotus Petals and land that are 0 CMC. And the minimum you can roll is obviously a 2, as in 2 1/1s. You get a lot of good hits. I will say that. It's very hard to lose if you've cast it. Saga's gonna be okay. We do have the Wasteland for that. Ooh. So this is gonna be mono blue. Painter. That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. Start with oof. And then take down their plan B. Yeah. That's exactly why you play oof. I mean, oof is still just a card that can be your oops, I win. And I think that's really important in a deck like Maverick, is that, you know, we don't have a Duck Depths, we don't have a natural order package. So having a card like Collector Oof, kind of like the new Gaddock Teeg, is really strong. Alright, Mono Blue Painter. Obviously the forces are a big one. I'm actually not too sure how Mono Blue plays, so I'm going to give it a quick look. I'm not too sure what creatures it plays. So there's Painter, and I assume within here are the Mono Blue versions. Yeah, and I assume it's these, but they just have some free spells. Yeah, so we have Thought Monitor, Emery, Painter, Might, Kappa, Plague, Dismember, Brazen Borrower. The usual kind of suspects. And I think, obviously, in this build, we're going to be looking at bringing in those blasts. The Furies are also pretty interesting. I don't mind those. Safekeeper I do like because it protects the Collector Oof. The bolts and the swords are very strong. The Emperors probably aren't where I want to be. The Fleetwood, the Questing Beast. Endurance is nice because it does save us. The Knights can probably come down. Although, obviously we have Wasteland, which is pretty strong. I also don't mind going down on a Hierarch here. And potentially even just Caracas. But 21 land is a little bit suspect. So I think I actually don't want to hit my mana. Could just be one Minsk. I don't mind that. Solitude's a little bit nice because it allows me to tap out and still have removal open. Minsk in doubles isn't what I want to see, but at least one Minsk is quite nice. This is a turn 2 Oof, which I think is fine, even though it doesn't have any turn 1 play. Pretty happy to keep this. Also being able to bait out with Liberator first and then play the Oof is quite nice. And then we do have Endurance, Pitch Knight in case they try to actually Painter us. Once, oh, that's pretty good. Especially if their turn 2 play was just going to be like Ancient Tomb Pass. This obviously only makes Once Upon a Time better as well, buying a turn to try to draw into it next turn. Wow, that was their land? No. Wow, this is even better because we get to go... Probably just go for Savannah here, play Safekeeper, and then play Collector Oof, and just protect it. And that's exactly kind of the role here of Safekeeper in the deck, is against these decks with bounce effects, especially Otawara, we still have ways to protect Collector Oof post-board. And yeah, that's just going to run away with the game, so pretty happy about that. So I wonder then, if they kept something like Saga, Mox, Petal, and something else. Obviously a risky keep against the deck that has 4 Wastelands. Once upon a time to find them. Cards like Collector Oof, Early Mana Acceleration. Seeing the red, you probably also think of Pyroblast to be able to like save it, but yeah, pretty tough keep from them. Give my little notepad. Blue Painter. Ant. And Blue Black Shadow. But hey, if you guys are enjoying this, I recently had a little interview with Harry1232, who is a player who's been doing really well online with a version of Maverick that plays Urza's Saga alongside kind of like a Naya package. So if you want to check that out, you can find it there. Hope you enjoy it. All right, Cap, let's do this. Bit of a slow one, but we'll give it a try. I believe the last time we played against my opponent, they were on Blue-Red Delver. They're down to 3 cards. The question here is do I care about days? I actually kind of like here just going Savannah into Noble Hierarch, which allows me next turn to play the Lightning Bolt around days. Means they do get some value off the DRC, but I think that's okay. I really value these removal spells, and throwing them away into a removal spell is just terrible. Okay. I'm going to start with Bolt on this. And then I'm just going to play out this Outland Liberator. It's a card I don't really care about. It can get dazed, but if the Delver doesn't flip, it's a card they have to care about if they want to attack with the Delver. And now we're pretty good. Our mana's online. We have 2 good removal spells. We have a Bolt that takes care of the Delver of Secrets. We have a Swords to Plowshares for a Murktide. And we do have a threat in play. So no flip. They didn't like the card on top, so they fetched it away before draw. The nice thing as well is that if this game goes to just like a beatdown fest, this Bolt could potentially just steal the game. But I think just being able to Bolt this Delver is where I want to be. Alright, so we know they have a Force. Actually, that goes to Exile, I believe. Yes. Oh, fantastic. So if we play the Dried Up at this turn, we can then play a land next turn and be able to Solitude Hardcast. So let's start with attacking for 3. Also don't have to be too weary of sweepers in the main deck, so pretty happy to pass here. See what the Delver flips. Oh, it doesn't. Wow. I think I would have float mana. Interesting that they went after the Noble Hierarch. They've already played a land for turn, so here I'm actually happy just to block. Are they trying to get a Murktide into play? Sure. 2 cards left. It's force blue card. I'm actually happy to attack with the Outland Liberator here, because if we can trade the Outland and the Bolt for the Murktide, I'm over the moon. I'm also happy to take this. Hey Giz, welcome. Hope you're well. Nice. I did say the early Bolt can steal a game. I mean, a land off the top would allow us. Is this just another Murktide? That's fine. It deals with 1 force. They also have 0 cards in hand here. So let's just quickly look at this. If we bolt them, they go to 5. Next turn we untap, we fetch down to 7. We play Fleetwood, attack with Exalted, which is a 5/5. They have to block with the Murktide. We gain 5, we go to 13. And then they only have a 6/6 in play and they draw 1 card. So I think we kind of have everything planned out. I will also just fetch right now. Get a Taiga. Oh. I guess here I could also attack with a Frenzied Trapbreaker. And then fling it. I think that's cooler. Maybe not. Maybe I should have said what I was going to do because it's a little bit cleaner. But here we get to do some cool things. Like we still get to go. We did prolong the game for a reason that I didn't really need to. But yeah, now I'm just going to get rid of this this mode. Oh yeah, I definitely could have done the other way and probably finished this game off a bit quicker, but I think we're still very favored, which is quite nice. Yeah, okay. What are we looking at? We are looking at a deck where we don't want the Outland Liberator or the Collector Oof, and we probably don't want the Walkers or the Beast. The Beast is interesting because of, and specifically, True Name Nemesis, which has been seeing some play. I do like the carpets, I do like the blast effects, and I don't mind the Furies. The Safekeeper I can also see coming out, and that is pretty much a clean sweep, so I'm happy just to see how that goes. More early removal, more interaction. Just make sure our mana is good. TNN's pretty good because it's quite hard for us to deal with. It's just a threat that gets around a lot of removal, like Swords to Plowshares, Bolt, Solitude. It does get hit by Pyroblast on the stack, but it's just a really nice way of just clocking in each turn and being both aggressive and defensive. I think I'm okay with this hand. It's going to be a little bit for science because I'm not a big fan of keeping one-landers, but we do have onces, so... I also am just going to do this right now to play around days because I don't want to start on the plains. Whew, okay. Now this is actually pretty interesting. I kind of want to go for the plateau because it allows us to cast the bolts over the canopy, and canopy down the line is pretty tough, just taking one off it every turn. All right. Also happy try to just keep things off the board. No shuffle. Polluted Delta is fantastic because it isn't, of course, a wasteland. Another Delve is fine. A green source here would be nice because then we can double spell. They chose to shuffle. Alright. Alright. This is where the mana can sometimes hurt with once. They chose to shuffle again. Yeah. But at least they have no threat in play. That Scalding Tarn is relevant here as it turns on Expressive Iteration. Okay. At least we have a lot of things to do once we draw into land, and that is going to happen. We're still at 20 on turn 6, which I think is a pretty good position against Delver. It's now a case of just making sure we can hit our land drops, get our mana online, and start using our spells in play to obviously get rid of what our opponent is most likely putting in play over the next few turns. Unholy Heat. Okay. Happy to take one more hit from this Delver. And probably just use my mana effectively. I just want to get rid of it. It's a shame to use the swords here, but... Wow, still no threat. I'm having a think. I don't have many good outs, because I assume they have a Force of Will for the carpet, which turns off my removal. And even if we draw into one, like, removal source, like if it's a Swords, Force. If it's a red source, Blast, Force. But yeah, the second one's just a little bit too good. Just gonna run it back. All I want to do is just make sure we can get our mana together. And this is a lot better. Happy to keep this. Hey Master G, a big thank you for the sub. Hope you're doing well. I think here we're just going to go for Taiga into Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. Okay. Windsweep kind of nice here because it allows us to hold up plateau. Also happy to try to get a daze out of my opponent's hand here. Because then we can just cast this knight. Wow, that survived. Can get Cradle next turn if I really want to. Or just hold up the swords here in case they force. Yeah. Nice. I think holding up swords there is better than getting in the 1 damage with Dryad Arbor. It's going to be a pretty good brainstorm here. Creature, land, instant sorcery. I guess they could unholy hit the knight potentially. Oh, please Murktide. It'll be a 4/4 Murktide, right? Oh, Burrower. Okay. Pretty good turn. Actually wouldn't mind just a probably a mana dork off the top. Turn on the cradle, allow us to play around days a little bit. I think for someone asking earlier about new cards, the only thing that looks kind of cool is the 3-mana Planeswalker that allows you to use activated abilities of creatures straight away. Tyvar. There we go. Oh, last card's days. Yikes. No shuffle. Hey Dan, hope you're doing well. Hope the family's well. A big thank you for the sub. Hope you're enjoying a few things while Magic isn't as great as it has been. Okay. There's no great Zenith target for 2, but I probably don't mind just getting Ignobled Hierarch here, as that does turn on Fury the following turn. And they threw that Hydroblast away just to fill the graveyard, which is really interesting. Didn't expect that. I don't want to use this Canopy and end step either. I want to untap with 5 mana, hopefully have 6 mana off the top. My 6th mana off the top to cast Fury around days. They can currently make a 5/5 Murktide, but we do have Canopy to just swords it. Brainstorm. Well, that's it. Do I want to use the... I think now I do want to use this. Nice. Okay. So they have 3 cards. I could Green Suns for... Endurance. They have 1 card. Yeah. Force, pitch Delver. Sure. Not too unhappy with that. It's not often that the Delver player is on half the time that I am. Murktide, that's fine. Start with swords. Nice. I think I should have swords off the plateau, so I could cast Hierarch off the Savannah, and then use Cradle to once, and then attacked for 2. I will once here just in case we only hit a land, and I get to play the land. Oh, but Fleetwood Dance is pretty cool. Endurance is also quite strong. But Fleetwood in the air especially. Also, at worst, it can just be pitched to the Fury. Please stop casting iterations. Please stop casting iterations. Yikes. Okay. Sadly, Dried Up is in the bin. But what we can do next turn is potentially evoke a creature, then tap Cradle for mana. Okay. I mean, imagine Carpet off the top here. Carpet would be insane. Carpet is like the one card that we're away from just taking this game back over. Sadly, I think we just have to take this. Tough. The buried in in iterations definitely a thing. Pretty happy to mulligan this. A little bit rough with the beast and the dried arbor. Okay, happy to keep this. What to pitch? That's the hard one. Probably the ignoble, because I do have green suns for dried arbor if I really want it. The other cards could just be like a win on the spot, either by endurance or solitude here. Oh, this is fine. We get to wasteland our opponent here. And maybe also put them under their own Trinisphere. They also got rid of a Simian Spirit Guide there. Yikes. It's pretty good. Went from hopeful to dead, yeah. See how this pans out. Yeah. What do I like here? Forces, Furies. The Endurances can come out, and probably one Emperor. No mana. No real mana. We can put back Dried Arbor here. And Fury. Yeah, it can be pretty tough, especially with a deck that doesn't have ways to, like once you have your opening hand, you're kind of stuck with it. I will respond to this. Probably just getting a basic. Force of Vigor would be pretty sweet. Force is definitely a card I've thought of as a 3 of in the sideboard. Just because the matches where you have it, you really want to see it a lot closer. Yikes. Tough. Well, that's not how I thought the return would go, but hey, here we are. Overall, not too bad. I probably wouldn't mind looking at a match. That was a thrashing. That was a thrashing. Also, shout out to my opponent, because that is a very cool deck, and it's always cool to see something that isn't kind of like a traditional metagame deck. So, good on them for doing what they obviously enjoy. I think if I did take this a little bit further, I'm not certain on the Furies. I could see the Furies coming out and just going up on one more Force and one more Carpet, and then just having a nice clean sideboard of just 5 3-ofs, which I kind of like. Fairy Macabre, like I could see Leyline there, but I do like Fairy just with once as well, just being a little bit more. And against a lot of the decks like Oops, Reanimator, Fairy is typically enough, which is nice. So that can be could be a change that we go for. The other thing was potentially another 2-drop. With the Emperors, this deck is obviously quite high on mana curve compared to other Maverick lists. And a nice 2-drop would be cool. I've definitely thought about Tarmogoyf just because of it being a 3-4 in most cases, and just being like a nice beater for what it does. Morlock, of course, would be perfect, but we don't have that at the moment. But yeah, some interesting play around with the deck. Like the Emperors could even go to the board. If I really wanted to, you could play like some main deck Fable of the Mirror Breakers. They've been pretty sweet. And I've actually really enjoyed playing around with those cards. Because Fable also allows you to turn cards that are dead into cards that are hopefully good. So something like Collector Oof against Elves or Delver, being able to discard it and draw into potentially one of these removal spells is fantastic and exactly what you want for a deck like Maverick, where you're kind of stuck with the hand you keep and just play out with what you have. So I could see a list where, like, potentially even we go down to 13, we have the Emperors in the board, and then we just put in... I think I have 2 Fables, yeah, from Connor. 2 Fables, which kind of shorts things up a bit, which is pretty nice. But yeah, maybe tomorrow night we'll see how that goes. But until then, a huge thank you to you guys for coming and watching. A big shout out to the new subscribers, of course. It's only been a week and I already feel like I'm so rusty. But yeah, deck was sweet. I think I feel those matches were a lot closer than maybe the scoreboard shows, but yeah, had a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have a pretty sweet piece coming out, hopefully over the next week. It's the first of a series of building Maverick, and the first piece is on the mana base. But I've got to get it edited. I now have an editor, which is very cool. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. It'll be up on Patreon. It won't be paywalled. But just like yeah, a new piece to keep the content going. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna see who else is streaming and send you guys over there, but hey, we'll catch you next time. Until then.